we welcome you to the 2021 Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, Greater Houston Gala. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A few months ago, the Chamber hosted a webinar on the question that was on everybody's mind: when will we see a return to normalcy? One of the featured speakers was our own very brilliant and distinguished keynote speaker, Dr. Peter Hotez. The event write-up made headlines across India and was covered by major Indian publications. This gala is proof we are returning to a degree of normalcy that we hope will continue. It is good to see you all in person. You may not run into some familiar faces this evening, and that is because we limited our attendance to 600 this year and insisted on vaccinations to keep everybody safe. Recognizing that we are all in this together, it was one of the many tough stands we had to take in the last 18 months. This pandemic has highlighted India's role in helping the world through its vaccine manufacturing. It has revealed India's tremendous potential that could well extend to other sectors, be it Mahindra, which we take credit for bringing to Harris County, Continental United Airlines, which we helped set up the flights to India, or the Gas Authority of India, GAIL, which is one of India's largest procurement agencies in our town, creating unlimited jobs and creating economic power in our community. We have had a role in helping enhance their presence in the Greater Houston region or ties with India. Our outbound trade missions have helped forge and enhance business relationships, resulting in investment and local job creation in the Greater Houston area and increasing bilateral trade. If you look at our various initiatives over the years, there is something in it for every business, small, medium, or large. Our events reflect the diversity of Houston, and we work with other chambers and resource partners on finding workable solutions to business issues. And you will find many of our sister chambers and resource partners in the room today. None of this would have been possible without the steadfast support of our sponsors throughout the years. I'd like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank our sponsors for standing by us through the uncertainty of the last 18 months. Without your support, we would never be here today. I want to especially recognize Brass King, Island, Lyndale Basil, St. Luke's, the Houston Business Journal, our media partner, Amir Ali Dodia, Charles Foster of Foster Global, Shell, Shipcom, and the numerous other sponsors who are responsible for all the value we've been able to provide these last 18 months and the 22 years of our existence. We owe special gratitude to our past presidents, our past board members, our advisors, our directors at large, and our board for their continued support and invaluable advice. I would also like to thank our wonderful student volunteers from the Houston Community College who may have helped you as you arrived this evening. This is one of the many ways in which the Chamber is connecting with and bringing in the next generation of leaders into our organizations. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your support, and I hope you enjoy your evening. Now let me invite on stage a man I really admire, our past president, Sanjay Ramabhadran. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad I don't have to unmute my microphone on Zoom this evening. So good to see all of you all in person. My job this evening is to help recognize our elected officials that have joined us. Over the last 18 months, our elected officials have helped us navigate many uncertain things that have happened in the last 18 months, and they are now helping lead us to a better future. Depending on who you ask, they may even say they're leading us to build back better. Now, I'm going to make a request that has not worked very often. The request is to please hold your applause till I get to the end of the list. Joining us this evening, the Ambassador of India to the United States, His Excellency Ambassador Taranjit Singh Sandhu. Welcome to Houston, Ambassador. Consul General of India in Houston, Consul General Asim Mahajan. From the 18th District of Texas, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. From the 9th District of Texas, Congressman Al Green. Houston Mayor, my Mayor, Sylvester Turner. Harris County Judge, Lina Hidalgo. Harris County Commissioners Rodney Ellis, Commissioner Adrian Garcia, and Commissioner Tom Ramsey that were here at various times this evening. Judge, we may have a quorum for Commissioners Court, but you all have had multi-meetings in the last 10 days, so we're good. Fort Bend County Judge, K.P. George. Joining us from South Texas, Corpus Christi, New Essex County Judge Barbara Canales. Fort Bend County Commissioner Ken DeMarchant. Harris County Clerk Marilyn Burgess. Houston City Council Member Sally Alcorn. Houston City Council Member Ed Pollard. Judge Julie Matthew. Judge Scott Dollinger. Houston Community College Trustee Dr. Adriana Temez. Port of Freeport Commissioner Ravi Singhania. Port of Corpus Christi Commissioner Rajan Ahuja. He's got his own fan club here. Former Harris County Judge Ed Emmett. Former City of Houston Mayor Anise Parker. From Senator John Cornyn's office, Jay Guerrero. And from Senator Ted Cruz's office, Jason Fuller. And from Congressman Troy Nelson's office, Mary Davis. The Chamber is proud to be back at the Hilton Americas, and I'm sure each of you is glad to be here as well. On the Houston First board, Bobby Singh, and we are at a Houston First facility, the Hilton Americas. To our public servants in the room, Houston Community College Chancellor Dr. Cesar Maldonado, City of Houston Chief Development Officer Andy Aiken, Houston Airport System Director Mario Diaz, and from the Harris County Toll Road Authority Executive Director Roberto Trevino. Let's give them a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Our next speaker this evening is the President of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce of Greater Houston, Tarush Anand, who took over as the Chamber's president on January 1, 2020. What a time to become president of a chamber that's just celebrated 20 years of service to Houston. He had served on the board several years. Having grown up in India, he moved to Houston and was one of the youngest recipients of a law degree from the University of Houston. And today, he happens to be the youngest president in the history of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. He's a partner in the litigation practice group at McGlinchey Stafford, a premier business law firm with 15 offices nationwide. He has personally tried numerous high-profile cases in different state and federal courts, as well as before multiple U.S. courts of appeals. He's the recipient of the Houston Business Journal 40 Under 40 Award, the highest level rating of AV Preeminent by Martindale-Hubbell, and the Texas Super Lawyers Rising Star designation for several consecutive years. Tarush is married to an attorney, Nehal, and they have 2 young children, and he still finds the time to help lead the Chamber during these challenging times. Please help me welcome President of the Chamber, Tarush Anand.
Thank you, Sanjay, and good evening, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be with you here this evening. And I mean be with you in real. real time, no webcams, no screens. It really is nice. Just over 2 years ago, I stood here on this stage at our last gala to accept my board's invitation to take over as the Chamber's next president. I talked about the many firsts that had come before me in our Chamber's prior presidents, and what firsts I might bring to the table. Well, it turns out I left out a pretty big one. The Chamber's first president to have to deal with a global pandemic. Yeah, didn't see that one coming. It still amazes me how quickly things changed in 2020. I mean, if you think back to early March of 2020, here in Texas at least, life was pretty normal. But sensing that things were about to change, we here at the Chamber made the early decision to pivot and go in a different direction. We canceled our regular events and quickly drew up plans to launch a webinar series dealing with the issues businesses would face related to COVID-19. We kicked things off with a webinar focusing on the new unique employment law challenges that businesses would face because of layoffs, furloughs, and other issues. And the event turned out to be a resounding success. It was, to date, the best attended event we've had other than a gala. And more so than the attendance, what was most remarkable about that event was the timing. Because by making that pivot early, we were able to host our event on March 25th, 2020, which may not mean much by itself, but for context, that's exactly one day after Harris County first announced its very first stay home, work safe order. So that's pretty good for timing, I'd say. And of course, we were just getting started. From there on, we went on to host a record number of events with some incredible speakers and timely topics, as you'll see in your Gala magazine. And that brings us to today. As we now hopefully enter the final chapter of this pandemic, the future looks bright. The post-pandemic world and shifting supply chains offer a wide array of opportunities, both locally and especially with India. And as we've done for the past 21 years, your chamber stands here ready to help every step of the way. So thank you, and I hope you enjoy your evening. The next item in today's agenda is the recognition of a really important group of people without whom none of this would be possible. So please help me welcome our board of directors, starting with Rajiv Bhavsar, Joya Shukla, Ashok Garg, Alisa Henderson Holmes, Swapan Daryawan, Malisha Patel, Sanjay Ramabhadran, Karen Francis, and Jagdeep Ahluwalia. Please, a round of applause. And on the subject of recognitions, there's a special one this year. This year, our good friend Bhavesh Bob Patel of Lyondell-Basell, who's been a chamber advisor and a strong supporter for many years, is sadly retiring from his role as the CEO and chairman of the management board of Lyondell-Basell. So we had to sneak around the Lyondell-Basell offices one day, making sure we didn't get caught making the surprise video. But in all seriousness, we wish you all the very best in the next chapter of your life. We thank you for your support over the years and look forward to staying connected in the years to come. Thank you. Next, it is my honor to invite to the stage the Consul General of India in Houston, the Honorable Asim Mahajan. Since joining the Indian Foreign Service in '98, Consul General Mahajan has served India diplomatically in Malaysia, Bangladesh, Laos, Vietnam, and Japan. He's also represented India at the World Trade Organization in Geneva. Despite arriving in Houston right around the time of the pandemic, Consul General Mahajan has done an amazing job of making connections within the community and truly making a difference. In him, the Chamber has found a true friend. Please help me welcome Consul General Mahajan.
Good evening to all of you, Ambassador of India to United States, Ambassador Taranjeet Singh Sandhu, Congressman Sheila Jackson Lee, Congressman Al Green, Judge Lina Hidalgo, Mayor Sylvester Turner, elected officials, all the dignitaries, members of the chamber, and friends. At the outset, I must mention it is truly a pleasure for me to be here amongst all of you today. I came in here last year. We moved from Geneva in January, and the pandemic started in March, and perhaps this happens to be one of the largest gatherings in this format which we are meeting today, and this goes thanks to the vaccinations. Dr. Peter Hotez is here. He is one of the keynote speakers, and I think we are truly blessed that at least we are meeting the way we used to meet earlier before this pandemic, and earlier Tarush mentioned, I think we are all hoping that this will be the last leg of this pandemic and life will return to normalcy as we knew it before the pandemic. The chamber here, I feel very much at home here, even though despite the pandemic, I think our interactions have been multiple, and I have met so many of you in different configurations, in different geometries. We have met at home, we have met in various events, we have done so many things together. So it is really a continuity in terms of all our activities which have been going on for the last year or so. As two vibrant democracies having open and multicultural societies, commonalities in culture and shared values, India and United States are natural partners. We share a very strong connect with this part of United States. We cover 8 states in southern United States, and I can truly tell you that I have traveled to some of them recently, and in Houston and Texas, I have traveled widely with Mayor Sylvester Turner, Judge Lina Hidalgo, they are here, and with Congressman Sheila Jackson Lee, Congressman Al Green. We have done multiple events, multiple community events, food distribution drives, working together on various initiatives. So it has been, while it has been a challenging time, but I think we have also risen to that occasion to adapt to this pandemic. Texas, where we are now located, it happens to attract the largest Indian investments as per the Confederation of Indian Industries report last year. Texas had Indian investments touching 10 billion and creating 17,500 jobs. We are Houston. Mayor is here, and we regularly go together, and I'm sure Mayor, you will appreciate what all we have done together. Houston is one of the most diverse cities in the United States. It is one of the most vibrant cities, home to NASA, home to the Texas Medical Center, the rodeo, and of course, the culture, arts, and one of the most vibrant Indian American communities, which has truly welcomed us and has been a very strong partner for us. The trade between India and Houston has continued to grow in the last couple of years. We are amongst the top 10, and our position is rising steadily. The numbers look good, but also I think the base has become much broader. A lot of investments are taking place both ways, from Houston to India, from India to Houston. Since this is the gala of the chamber, let me take a little while to let you know what we have done in this last 1 year. Jagdeep, of course, has been a very strong partner. The consulate has organized multiple events and interactions, of course, more in the virtual format with various stakeholders, the Greater Houston Partnership, the chambers, many associations, organizations, ministries in India, chambers in India. We have actually done a lot together. When I was trying to reflect on this, I found that over the last year, we have done so many focused events which have actually translated into a lot of business. We have several stories to relate in terms of how companies have moved from Houston to India and have formed fruitful partnerships together. Touching upon some of the areas, we have such a large presence of the healthcare community here in the Texas Medical Center, which is the largest medical city in the world, with so many hospitals, medical research institutions. Our partnership with them is truly deepened. Dr. Hotez, who will be speaking later, the Baylor College of Medicine with Biological E, they have developed a vaccine which will be truly the people's vaccine, and they are planning to scale it up to billions of doses. But there are many similar such stories. There is a big company here which produces PPE equipment and medical equipment, and they went to India, they scaled up the operations, they have invested in India. In fact, they have decided to invest in one of the states in India as well. Institutional linkages, MD Anderson, Baylor College, many people individually, they are doing joint research with Indian institutions. India happens to be one of the most largest growing, the fastest growing medical systems in the world. We are a country of 1.3 billion people, and I'm really proud to say that the demographics of India, with more than 650 million people, in percentage it may sound only 50%, but 650 million people who are below 25 years of age. And you can imagine what this demographic dividend means. It's it's an opportunity for both India and United States to deepen this partnership. The other area, of course, is energy. We have so many people from energy, oil and gas here. The India-US partnership in energy has grown to 10 billion from nothing a couple of years back. We take gas from here, but I have, in the last 2 years, met many energy companies. They are looking at India to invest there, to take technologies there, to partner there, and the new and renewable energy area, which is now really emerging as one of the areas in our partnership, solar, wind, a lot of big Texas companies who are looking at making smart grids in India, setting up gas pipelines in India, producing petrochemicals in India. We are in touch with many companies, and the consulate here and ambassador, of course, is here. We are here to serve you to build this bridge there. Technology. Houston is known for innovation. The Greater Houston Partnership has partnered with us for many events in the area of technology, in the area of innovation, in the area of startups. We recently had an event, and the Texas Medical Center has the Texas Innovation, where healthcare companies have a incubator system. We are trying to, many Indian companies are looking at that. We are connecting in that area. We did that event, and with cities in Austin, Dallas, which are now emerging as leading hubs of global innovation. But at the same time, India itself has a very big and vibrant ecosystem in that area. And I'm sure this will drive our relationship as we go forward. In the area of manufacturing, we have many companies which are going to look and manufacture here. In the coming year, we have already planned, India is celebrating 75 years of our independence, which we call the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. You can see it's on the banners of the chamber also. So at part of this basket, while we are celebrating our glorious history, our people, we are also looking at ideas for India, actions for India, and resolves for India at 75. And I think that is where I will look forward to the support of all of you. With the chamber and the board, we have had many interactions to plan events. We are planning seminars on India in the coming year. We are planning a big event on energy, and Jagdeep has many other ideas. We will try to match up the energy of the board, and I assure you that the future, as they say, between India, United States, India, Texas, and India, Houston, the best is yet to come. And it is our vibrant Indian American community here, which is present here today. They are not only our partners, they are big bridges for us for flow of resources, for flow of information, and they have stood with us during this pandemic. Lastly, but not the least, I wish to acknowledge the role of the chamber also going beyond what the Chamber of Commerce does. I think the chamber rose to the occasion and has done a lot of community initiatives together. We did so many calls with the Baylor College of Medicine, with St. Luke's, with Dr. Hotes, with so many others, with MD Anderson, the president of MD Anderson, on how to deal with the pandemic, how to cope up with the pandemic, how the small businesses can cope up. And that, I think, is something which we learn to innovate. I again wish to acknowledge the role of the Indian American community in supporting us through these testing times. The consulate is here. We strive to deliver our consular services, but also try to deepen our connect on these very deep and broad-based, multifaceted relationship. We have the honor and the pleasure of having Ambassador of India to United States on his first visit here, sir. I take this opportunity, maybe we should give him a big applause to welcome him here. And Ambassador Taranjit Sandhu is an expert on India-US relations, having served twice earlier in Washington in key roles and also in New York. Prior to coming here, he was the High Commissioner of India to Sri Lanka. And we look forward to hearing from him on the vision on how we can deepen this connect together. I take this opportunity to also wish you a happy Diwali, which is just in the offing, a festive season. May this season bring us joy, peace, prosperity, and most important, good health. And I think as we move to the next year, I'll really look forward to more interactions with you in person. Thank you again for doing this, and thank you again. I want to thank the Chamber for what all they are doing for us and working with us on so many initiatives together to deepen this multifaceted relationship. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Consul General. It is now my honor to introduce our chief guest for today, India's Ambassador to the United States, the Honorable Taranjit Singh Sandhu. Ambassador Sandhu is widely regarded as among the most experienced Indian diplomats on U.S. affairs. As you heard, he has served all over the world before coming back to the U.S. to take charge as ambassador. And while his credentials are truly impressive, I think the most interesting fact about Ambassador Sandhu lies elsewhere. And that is, Ambassador Sandhu is married to another ambassador. His wife is the current sitting ambassador of India to Italy. And that, I think, is what you would call the ultimate power couple. Sir, we are honored that you accepted our invitation to be here today. Thank you for being with us. It's my pleasure to invite Ambassador Sandhu.
Good evening, friends. I must echo the Consul General's words that this is actually the biggest gathering I've seen ever since I've taken over as ambassador in Washington, D.C. Well, the reason, of course, is understandable, and I want to ask the Mayor here that, Mr. Mayor, did COVID-19 not come to Houston? Both the congressmen, whom I've known since my first stint in 1997, Mayor, Judge, all the dignitaries here. I see my friend Dr. Hotez. Friends, all the distinguished guests. It is a pleasure to be able to join the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce of the Greater Houston region for its annual gala. And it is even more of a delight to do so in person. After more than a year and half of the pandemic, I am certain we all have some Zoom fatigue and have come to value our personal interactions and face-to-face meetings. So I compliment the organizers. It is great to be in the wonderful city of Houston and meet all of you. This is my first visit here after taking over as ambassador, though I have been here in Texas during my earlier stints. I see a lot of energy amongst all of you here, and it is not surprising, considering that I am in the energy capital of the world. The IACCGH has done outstanding work as a bridge between India and the United States and in channelizing the entrepreneurial energy of the Indian diaspora in the United States. The networks that you have built within the community and across the state are a matter of great pride for all of us. I also extend my greetings to the Chamber for its contribution towards supporting India during the second COVID wave. I am confident that the program today will help in advancing the India-US partnership from people-to-people connection to lasting economic and trade ties. As you all know, India is celebrating the 75th year of its independence, and we have commemorated this with the slogan, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Domestically, we continue to make rapid strides in building a prosperous and a secure country. From the large-scale infrastructure projects to the digital transformation, India has demonstrated strong recovery from COVID-19 pandemic. In different ways, I am sure that the work of the Chamber and the Indian diaspora in Texas will continue to support and strengthen these efforts in India. Friends, the India-US Global Strategic Partnership continues to grow from strength to strength. Just over a month ago, Prime Minister Modi visited Washington, D.C. for his first bilateral meeting with President Biden and first in-person Quad Leaders Summit. These engagements provided critical momentum to move the relationship forward. From health sector cooperation to combating climate change to partnership in critical and emerging technologies to strategic cooperation in the Indo-Pacific, there is no sphere of human activity that is untouched by the India-US relationship. Since Prime Minister's visit last month, we have had the Finance Minister visit United States. In addition, there have been visits by several other senior officials in both directions. During his discussion with President Biden, Prime Minister Modi identified 5 T's that would define the partnership: tradition, talent, trade, technology, and trusteeship. All the 5 aspects are underscored by a defining element: trust between the two countries. The Prime Minister's visit was a demonstration of that trust and of the enduring strength in our partnership. As you here in Texas know well, relations with India have always had bipartisan support, whether in the US Congress, in the White House, or in the US states. But those of you who came here prior to the 90s would know and would have seen for yourself how bilateral partnership has transformed in the last 2 decades. You would remember Prime Minister Modi during his address to the US Congress in 2016 spoke about overcoming the hesitations of history. We have indeed come a long way. Many of us in the room have witnessed and been active participants in this dramatic transformation. Friends, I am told that the only person who stays awake during a dinner speech is the person who delivers it. So it's a challenging exercise. Allow me to brief you on 5 key elements of the relationship, on where it is today and where opportunities can lead us. I call it 5 pillars of our partnership. First, in the midst of the pandemic, India and the United States proved worthy of an old proverb: a friend in need is a friend indeed. In the health sector, India and the United States collaborated on ensuring the integrity of medical supply chains, providing essential medical and PPEs at the time of most need, and supporting each other during the more difficult phases. During the second wave, as President Biden himself noted, just as India stood with the US in the early part of the pandemic, the US extended support to India. Today, under our science and technology partnership, around 7 vaccines are under development. One of them is right here. And with Baylor College of Medicine of Houston, Dr. Peter Hotez is here with us today. He will have more news for you regarding how clinical trials are progressing, etc. And under the Quad framework, our countries are collaborating on vaccine manufacture and delivery of more than 1 billion vaccines in the Indo-Pacific region. 2, I cannot expect to come to Houston and miss a critical element, energy. A huge country like India cannot grow without investing in energy. For us, energy security is synonymous with national security. The energy sector offers huge opportunities for India-US partnership. This is being realized by a number of leading Houston-based energy companies. The energy trade between India and the US, which was $0 till a couple of years ago, now stands at more than $20 billion. India views LNG as an important transition fuel, and adequate provision, particularly from the United States, will be a key to our developmental needs. Even in the sphere of clean energy, there is a great potential. The share of renewable energy is now almost 1/3 of our overall installed capacity. The low generation cost of renewable energy has facilitated this shift in the energy mix. This would catalyze the overhauling of India's power sector, thus presenting many opportunities for private sector participation. 3, the importance of education and knowledge partnership. Speaking about education to a group of Indian Americans, many of you who came here for graduate school and research opportunities is like teaching the chef about spices. But nevertheless, it is a point that bears repetition. India's demographic dividend will define India's success story, and there are strong complementarities for India and United States here. With more than 200,000 Indian students in the US, 2/3 of whom are in STEM areas, the knowledge partnership is a real bridge between the two countries. This talent pools feeds the startup ecosystem, creating tech majors in the US and unicorns in India. But the knowledge partnership goes beyond that. Over the last year and a half, I've spoken to more than 125 university presidents, including many in Texas, who are keenly interested in campus linkages with Indian universities. I just visited University of Houston, and I am also visiting University of North Texas, Denton, day after. My parents have both been educators. They studied in University of Ohio for their doctoral program and went back to India. It is a personal passion in a way for me. As they say, tomorrow's leaders are born in today's classrooms. These relationships have the capability to add tremendous value to both our economies through R&D, innovation ecosystems, and mentoring of bright young minds. I would request you to take a look at the new education policy that India announced last year, which promotes these collaborations at various levels. 4, the India-US partnership is relentlessly focused on the future. Technology and innovation will be the key drivers of the future. Going digital is not an option. It's a default mode, as someone said. So it's not much of a surprise that so many of our conversations with US administration focus on harnessing the power of technology to addressing its malicious uses. Critical and emerging technologies also are a key focus area under the Quad, where our 4 countries have demonstrated strategic convergence. On the industry front, US companies have already taken a keen interest in the Indian tech space. In the last year, notwithstanding the adverse impact of COVID-19 pandemic, Major tech companies committed over $20 billion to investments in India. 5. The need to tap the unrealized potential of trade. In 2019, the US became India's largest trading partner with close to $150 billion in two-way trade. When we have capable and enthusiastic people like all of you here, I do not see any reason why our trade cannot go up. As the Prime Minister recently told President Biden, we have important complementarities in this space. Our official target for 2030 is $500 billion, but I believe we can do it even better. The IACC and the larger Indian diaspora can play an important role in providing information and support as we move forward in this area. In conclusion, let me highlight once again the Government of India's deep commitment to structural second-generation reforms. We remain committed to ensuring accelerated growth and to reducing regulation to facilitate business. COVID-19 also exposed the acute vulnerability of supply chains. Restructuring of these chains is underway, and India is keen to tap this opportunity to increase its participation in global value chains. Since March 2020, the government has approved production-linked incentive schemes in 13 key sectors, which are valuable opportunities to advance the India-US economic partnership. Please note that we have a huge appetite for ideas and feedback. Feel free to reach out to us. We value your inputs. As India celebrates its 75th year of independence, I invite you to be partners in our progress, to walk in hand in order to achieve our shared goals. I want you to be the energy, the catalysis, our journey forward. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Vivek Kaudi, and I'm the Chief Radiation Oncology Officer for US Oncology. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker tonight, Dr. Peter Hotez. Dr. Hotez is Dean of the National School of Tropical Medicine and Professor of Pediatrics, Molecular Virology, and Microbiology at the Baylor College of Medicine. He's also the co-director of the Texas Children's Center for Vaccine Development. Dr. Hotez is an internationally recognized physician scientist in tropical diseases and vaccine development. He leads a research team and has multiple partnerships for new vaccines targeting various infectious diseases, including SARS, MERS, and of course, coronavirus. These are diseases affecting hundreds of millions of children and adults worldwide. He has also tirelessly championed access to vaccines not only globally, but right here in the United States. In 2006, at the Clinton Global Initiative, he co-founded the Global Network for Neglected Tropical Diseases. This network is designed to provide access to essential medicines for hundreds of millions of people worldwide. He obtained his undergraduate degree in molecular biophysics from Yale University, followed by a PhD in biochemistry from Rockefeller University, and his MD from Cornell. Dr. Hotez has authored more than 500 original papers and is the author of 4 books. Amongst his multitude of accomplishments, he has served in the Obama administration as U.S. envoy focusing on vaccine diplomacy initiatives and was appointed by the U.S. State Department to serve on the Board of Governors for the U.S.-Israel Binational Science Foundation. In 2017, he was named by Fortune magazine as one of the 34 most influential people in healthcare. Over the last 18 months, he has become a familiar face and a trusted voice on multiple television news channels educating all of us on COVID-19. His lab has been actively partnering with Indian scientists and pharmaceutical companies for many years and is about to launch a low-cost coronavirus vaccine which will bring vaccine access to hundreds of millions of people. He will go over that tonight. In addition, he has graciously participated with us on 2 webinars that the Chamber has hosted. My favorite saying of his is as follows: vaccines are the highest expression of science in the pursuit of humanitarian goals. Please welcome a true hero in this global fight against this pandemic, Dr. Peter Hotez.
Thank you so much. It was a very generous introduction. I'm cognizant of the fact that I'm one of the things that are keeping you from dinner, so I'm going to try to be merciful in terms of length of comments and just try to highlight a few things. First of all, I just want to thank President Awalia and of course Ambassador Sandhu and Consul General Assem and it's Majan. It's so nice to see you. What's really nice is, I've been talking, wringing hands with Mayor Turner and County Judge Hidalgo and Representative Sheila Jackson-Lee and Al Green Rodney Ellis and Adrian Garcia and Council Member Ramsey for the last 2 years, but I haven't actually seen them. I mean, it's all been virtual. I feel like we're embedded in a computer someplace. So the fact that I actually got to hug a few of them tonight is just so nice, and it really feels good, and it's so good to see everybody. And it is an honor for me to be able to address the Chamber of Commerce tonight. I'm trying to stand on the side of this because over the years I've noticed somebody of my stature, when you stand behind the podium, all you see is podium. So I'm trying to be a little bit more out in front as much as I can, because I do want to briefly tell a very interesting story about something that's very special that's happening between our Texas Medical Center and the people of India. And I want to report upon what I call our shared unique commitment to global health and the world's poverty-related neglected diseases. More than a decade ago, it's gone by very quickly. A decade and a few months, I moved with my family and a group of a dozen or more scientists to Houston with a vision to tackle the most common afflictions of the world's poor. So, as mentioned, I'm an MD, PhD pediatrician scientist who's devoted my life to developing new vaccines and preventative treatments for this very interesting group of afflictions called the neglected tropical diseases. They're the most common afflictions of the world's poor. So right now, there are 750 million people in the world who live on no money. The World Bank doesn't call it that. They say it lives below the World Bank poverty figure of $1.90 a day, but you know what that means. It means they live on no money. And essentially all of them, every one of those 750 million people are infected with schistosomiasis and hookworm infection and Chagas disease. And we're trying to provide access for first-generation interventions that are now reaching more than 1 billion people annually. And now we're developing vaccines for these conditions to really make them go away. And they're interesting vaccines because they're not only going to affect and improve health, but also lift people out of poverty. So one of these diseases called female genital schistosomiasis, you probably never heard of it. It's the most common gynecologic condition on the African continent. 40 million girls and women living in poverty are affected by it. We're making that vaccine. And they cause chronic disabilities. They make people too sick to go to work. They destroy lives. They impair child development, particularly reproductive health. And because of that, they trap people in poverty. So by making a vaccine for these diseases, you're not only going to improve health, but lift them out of poverty. Hence this term anti-poverty vaccines. In our group, the Texas Children's Center for Vaccine Development, which is just a few blocks from here, it's located in the Feigen Research Center of the Texas Children's Hospital. It's a major research arm of our National School of Tropical Medicine, which I started here at Baylor College of Medicine and the Texas Medical Center in 2010, which in itself is kind of an interesting story. I've trained at some of the best universities, I've been at Yale and Harvard and Cornell and Rockefeller. I said, I want to start a tropical medicine school, and they said, you can't do that. And because, the universities in the Northeast, they're wonderful institutions, but they've been around since the Pleistocene era, and they have a set way of doing things, and they become a bit ossified. And I came down here to the Texas Medical Center. I said, I want to start a school of tropical medicine. They said, okay. And this is one of the very cool things about Houston. I get very emotional about this. I say this is one of the, I think, last places in the United States, maybe anywhere, where you could still pursue the old-fashioned American dream, where if you're willing to work hard and have a passion for it, you can do it. And I think the other really interesting thing about Houston that I found, and people don't believe me when I say it, Houstonians are the most intellectually curious group of people I've ever met. Maybe because we're all here because we want to do something big. And when you tell people you want to start a school of tropical medicine, they say, what's that? And they're like sponges. They want to absorb, they want to learn, they want to know. It's a really, truly wonderful aspect of the people of Houston. And, our team of scientists includes experts in fermentation and chemical engineering related to bioprocess development, which is not something you think about when you think about a medical school. And I know we have many outstanding engineers here in the audience. Ultimately, making vaccines is as much an engineering challenge as anything else. And we're working to realize the concept of science and engineering for humanitarian purposes, something I've termed science tikkun, based on the ancient Hebrew concept of tikkun olam, to repair the world. Now, aside from our neglected tropical disease anti-poverty vaccines, after we first relocated from Houston, Texas, from Washington, D.C., we also embarked on developing vaccines for another group of orphaned or neglected tropical diseases known as coronavirus infections. And at the time in 2010, nobody cared about coronavirus infections. And so we began developing vaccines for SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome, that, if you remember, it arose out of southern China in 2010. It hit Toronto very hard, but otherwise didn't have a big impact, and Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome. And that work led to the study showing that the spike protein of the coronavirus is a promising target. And then we showed how to produce the spike protein at scale, how to deliver it to the immune response, and induce high levels of protective virus neutralizing antibodies. All of that work over the last decade has led to this current generation of vaccines. And so when the sequence of the SARS-2 coronavirus came online in January 2020, our team of scientists was able to pivot our coronavirus vaccine work towards COVID-19 and make that vaccine. But it's a different type of vaccine from the one you're familiar with. Unlike mRNA vaccines or adenovirus vectored vaccines, which work well, but which cannot be made in the billions, ours can. So remember the scope of the problem. There are more than 1 billion people in sub-Saharan Africa who need to be vaccinated. There's another 650 million people in Latin America, another 1 billion people in the smaller low-income Asian countries. That's 3 billion people. We need 9 billion doses of vaccines, and we don't need it by 2023 or 2024. We need it now. And here's the problem. It's simply not possible to make 9 billion doses of mRNA or adenovirus vectored vaccines. As any engineer will tell you, and I know there are many here tonight, there's a learning curve to go from 0 to 9 billion. It doesn't matter whether they're new vaccines or widgets. Any new technology takes time. And so what I was very troubled about when the mRNA and adenovirus vectored vaccines came out, and I was the beneficiary of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, I got it and I'm grateful, but I said, it's going to take years to learn how to make 9 billion of them. So what are we going to do now? And so our vaccine is an old school vaccine. It uses an older yeast fermentation technology that's similar to the one used to make the recombinant protein hepatitis B vaccine that's made and used all over the world. including low and middle income countries. And by the way, that's what you gave to your kids and your grandkids. But we needed a manufacturing partner who could do this and do it well, do it under a quality umbrella, quality control, quality assurance, because that's the problem with making a vaccine. Anybody can actually make a vaccine, but to do it with that quality umbrella, that's the hard part. So who would make that vaccine? And the answer, of course, is India. Not many people know the story, except the ambassador, but India provides more vaccines for the world's low and middle income countries, vaccines for diseases such as measles or whooping cough or tetanus, than any other nation. Over the decades, India's, it really is one of the greatest stories ever told. Over the decades, India's largest vaccine producers, such as the Serum Institute of India in Pune, or Biological E in Bharat Biotech in Hyderabad, have established this very unique ecosystem needed to make vaccines for the world's low and middle income countries. I call this India's gift to the world. It really is. And thank you. Naturally, so we were thrilled when we got connected to Biological E in Hyderabad through our mutual colleagues at PATH, the Program for Appropriate Technology for Health based in Seattle, which does a lot of work with the Gates Foundation. And without the need of patents, no patents, we transferred our production cell bank to Biological E and then began exchanging reagents and knowledge, speaking literally every day by Zoom or by phone. So I haven't slept in 2 years because, you know the time difference to Hyderabad? It's awful. I mean, 6 a.m., 7 a.m. Zoom calls. And then when they're ready to start work, of course, it's in the middle of the night here. But we did it. We worked together to develop that vaccine. And in clinical trials in Hyderabad and elsewhere in India, the vaccine looks great, offering protection that looks as good as potentially the mRNA vaccines, but a fraction of the price. Because by only making vaccines for global health, our health economists, and we've worked with them, told us, hey, Peter, if you want to make a schistosomiasis vaccine for female genital schistosomiasis, it's got to be under $2 a dose. And same with our hookworm vaccine, same with our Chagas vaccine. So that's all we know how to do is make cheap vaccines. So this COVID-19 vaccine is priced at $1.50 a dose. And simple refrigeration, easy to administer, and in short, it checks all the boxes needed for global health and resource-poor settings. And now the vaccine will be released for emergency use authorization. And India, we think any day now. So we're waiting maybe by the end of this month or early in November. And our good friends and colleagues at Biological E are scaling it at 100 million doses per month. That's the other thing India and Texas shares. We only do big things, right? So 100 million doses a month. And the Indian government has just announced they will make an advance purchase of 300 million doses. And so that's going on now. And so what's happening, which is both sad and interesting, is every week now I'm contacted by a minister of science or a minister of health in a low and middle income country. Why? Because they have no vaccine. They were told mRNA vaccines were coming, adenovirus vectored vaccines are coming. They're not coming, and they never were, because they were never going to be able to scale them at that level. But we can with ours. And so now with no patents, we're only doing this not to make money, but we want to vaccinate the world in the coming months. Now, one of our early problems was that we lacked the funds to launch this project, in part because the US government in Operation Warp Speed was really fixated on speed and innovation. Whether or not you can make it for the world was never really an issue. It was speed and innovation to vaccinate the American people as fast as you can, and they did that, but now the rest of the world, the entire Southern Hemisphere is without vaccine. So this was a huge issue for me, and it was very tough in those first few months of the pandemic. One, I was going on CNN and MSNBC every day delivering, horrible news. I actually cried twice in front of Breonna Keeler, so there's something about her that makes me cry. I don't know what it is. But it was really sad, and then we couldn't raise money because we were cut out of Operation Warp Speed, and everybody was focused on speed and innovation. But back when I was an undergraduate at Yale, I bought a copy of The Essential Gandhi written by Louis Fisher, who was a journalist. And I still have it in my office to this day. It's all dog-eared, everything is underlined. And Gandhi once said, "My experience has taught me that no movement ever stops for languishes for lack of funds. This does not mean that any movement could go on without money, but it does mean that wherever it has good men, and I would add, and women, and true at its helm, it's bound to attract to itself the requisite funds." So we had that going for us. But he was right. He was absolutely right. And you know who came through? The Texas-based philanthropies. In addition to support from Texas Children's Hospital, we received help from the Clayburgh Foundation, Tito's Vodka. So if you order a cocktail tonight with vodka, you're getting it with Tito's Vodka. Tito's been amazing. The Dunn Foundation, the MD Anderson Foundation, as well as help from the JPB Foundation in New York and others. We raised $7 million here in Texas in a hurry. And that would never have happened otherwise. And so our modest-sized research institute here in Texas is making the people's vaccine for the world, supported by Texas philanthropy. So a point here is that if we had not moved to Texas, there would be no low-cost people's vaccine for COVID-19. As I say, we came here to the Texas Medical Center in Houston because this is the place where you do big things. And it's a side of Texas that few people back east know, or on the West Coast. And you know how we're portrayed on the news, on the cable news networks. We're portrayed as being sort of backwards or lacking education. But this is one of the fun things about going on, is to tell that story of Texas, that Texas is a science powerhouse, and some of the world's most important scientific discoveries, cures, and vaccines and medical devices were conceived right here in our Texas Medical Center. So now, together with BioE, our vaccine center has accelerated the development, production, and delivery of this new low-cost COVID-19 vaccine, and our shared goal is to make the vaccine available not only for India, but also for all of the world's low and middle-income countries as a means to end the pandemic. So this is the good news of the story. But making for vaccines for the world is not without its challenges, and some of which I've never expected. And I'll just finish up with this one piece, which is that in addition to being a vaccine scientist, I've been married to Anne for 34 years. I'm sorry she's not here tonight. She was with the event yesterday. And we're the parents of 4 adult children, including that 2 who live here in Houston. So my son Dan is a petroleum engineer who now works on the financial side at Evercore, just a few blocks away from here in downtown Houston. And by the way, they work you pretty hard at Evercore. I'm sure he's working now. And my youngest daughter, Rachel, is 28 years old and has autism and intellectual disabilities. And a few years back, I wrote the book, Vaccines Did Not Cause Rachel's Autism, to counter a rising crescendo of pseudoscience and anti-vaccine activities, which are unfortunately centered right here in Houston. And I'm sorry, not here in Houston, it's centered right here in Texas. So that although Texas is a scientific horsepower, it's also sadly now the epicenter of the anti-vaccine movement in America. In fact, I've been so effective at countering this anti-vaccine aggression that I now have a name from the anti-vaccine groups. They call me the OG villain, which I had to look up. It means the original gangster villain. So Consul General, you've invited the OG villain to address this group tonight. Now in 2020 and 2021, we saw science and scientists challenged or even threatened like never before. A massive anti-vaccine disinformation campaign attached itself to political extremism with deadly consequences. Thousands of Americans have lost their lives this past summer until now, with more than 100,000 COVID-19 deaths from May to June until now because of this Delta variant and the fact that they weren't vaccinated despite the widespread availability of vaccines. Think of that. Between 1,000 and 2,000 Americans are losing their lives every day since late in the spring and the summer because they were falsely told that taking ivermectin was just as good, or that vaccines were only political instruments of control, or that vaccines were a little more, these are quotes, a little more than a mechanism to get their foot in your door, because then they're going to take away your guns and your Bibles. Now, as ridiculous as that sounds to us, there's a quarter or a third of the country that actually believes this garbage. And these are actual comments from elected members of the United States Congress and some of the governors. And moreover, these comments are repeated nightly on some of the conservative news outlets. And at first, we called this misinformation, then disinformation to reflect intent, but I call it what it really is. This is anti-science aggression, and it's a killer. Anti-science aggression has killed more Americans in recent months, including 10,000 Texans this summer and fall, than global terrorism, cyber attacks, nuclear proliferation, and other big picture global threats combined. And in an article published in the Public Library of Science entitled Anti-Science Kills, I compare what is happening today to when Stalin purged both science and scientists in order to exert authoritarian control. He subjugated evolutionary genetics in favor of Lysenko's phony concepts of vernalization, and that resulted in catastrophic agricultural practices leading to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of peasants from starvation in the Soviet Union during the 1930s and 40s. He also sentenced prominent scientists such as Vavilov to starve in Soviet gulags. Now, clearly what's happening today is by no means compares to those atrocities of the mid-20th century, but you get the idea. Science is under attack, as is our scientists. The other night, I got a call from a colleague, Dr. Hotez, turn on Fox News. I said, why? He said, because Laura Ingraham and Governor DeSantis of Florida are going after you. I said, what? I turn it on, and sure enough, the two are attacking me. And I'm looking at this as the governor of Florida. I'm a professor at Texas. I mean, why is the governor of Florida going after? I mean, I've been to Florida. I took the kids to Disney World when they were little. But it's the most bizarre thing at all. And it's very hard to talk about because as scientists, right, all of our training is we don't talk about Republicans and Democrats and liberals or conservatives. We're supposed to be beyond all that. But, I just don't know how to talk about it without talking about it. Somehow we have to uncouple the anti-science from far right-wing extremism. And it doesn't belong, and it's killing thousands of Americans. I mean, look, there's nothing intrinsically anti-science about the Republican Party. Lincoln started the National Academy of Sciences. Eisenhower started NASA. George W. Bush started PEPFAR. But what's happening now is sort of new and twisted, and it's un-American, and it's got to stop. Ultimately, thank you. Ultimately, I feel the greatness of our nation is built on the backs of our great research universities, like those in Texas and Houston and the Texas Medical Center. Remember, we won World War II in part because of radar and the Manhattan Project. We won the Cold War. We're winning the war on AIDS because of science. My point here is that it's ultimately the scientists and the engineers who are the heroes, not the so-called army of patriots who sends me emails threatening me to hunt me down. We're the patriots. So, President, thank you. So, President, I really want to thank you for the invitation today and for inviting me here tonight and for the opportunity to speak to my Indian brothers and sisters. And I'll end with another statement from Gandhi who said, it's a trite saying that one half of the world knows not how the other half lives. Who can say what sores might be healed, what hurt solved, were the doings of each half of the world's inhabitants understood and appreciated by others. Now we're coming together and we're changing the world and overcoming the aggression. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it very much.
So we have an elephant for Dr. Hotez to ride on his next trip to India too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Hotez. If you all couldn't hear Jagdeep, he was giving Dr. Hotez an elephant to ride on when he goes to India next. Our next speaker of the evening is the president of the African American Mayors Association nationally, the board chair of the Global Resilient Cities Coalition, and the board chair of the US Climate Mayors. It's pretty rare for one individual to serve in all those three positions. It is unprecedented for one individual to serve in all those three positions at the same time. Please welcome to the stage Houston's mayor, Mayor Sylvester Turner.
Thanks, Sanjay. And you know, I had a whole lot prepared. I think I'm going to wing it tonight. Look, let me just say good evening to everyone. It is an honor to be here. Please give it up to Dr. Peter Hotez one more time. Let me tell you, he is incredible. He has saved a lot of lives. He, along with the medical professionals, have really done an exceptional job. And that's one of the reasons why we're able to assemble in this room tonight. Let me just announce that for the Thanksgiving parade here in Houston, Dr. Peter Hotez will be the Grand Marshal for that parade. Let me acknowledge President Taresh Anand for doing an incredible job of IACC. Certainly want to acknowledge Jack Deep. We worked with him very closely, especially over the last 6 years since I've been mayor. This Indo-American Chamber has been in existence for some 20 years, so really want to give them a huge shout out because they have been an incredible partner with the city. Please acknowledge the Indo-American Chamber. Let me say to the ambassador from India, Ambassador Sandhu, let me again, it's a pleasure to be sitting right next to you. This is your first time to the city of Houston. I asked him, the first time, he said, yes, Mayor, I was waiting on an invitation. Well, let me just say this. You have an invitation. I know you're leaving here. Tomorrow you're heading to Dallas. You're heading to Dallas, the suburb of the city of Houston. And, but let me just say, we are honored to have you here in this city. And it is my goal for the next 2 years as mayor of the city of Houston to build a very, very strong, even stronger relationship between India and the city of Houston. In the last decade, the trading relationship between Houston and India has pretty much doubled. It was at one point in the 17s, then it dropped down to 11, and as of today, India is our seventh biggest trading partner, and we want that to strengthen. And then, of course, in 2018, many of us went to India on our trade mission, hope to go again within the next 2 years. And then when Prime Minister Modi came here, it was the largest gathering for any foreign political figure right here in the city of Houston. Very, very proud of that. So lastly, let me just say this. Let me thank the Indo-American Chamber. Let me thank all the Indo-Americans that are in the city of Houston. You helped to make this city the most diverse city in the United States. And we're very, very proud of that. We have a lot of work to do. We've been proven to be resilient. We've faced a lot over the last 6 years. But one of the reasons why Houston is still standing is because of that diversity, because we recognize it's an asset and not a liability, and the best for the city has yet to come, and the best for the relationship between India and Houston will get even stronger. So thank you all for being here. Enjoy your evening, and happy Diwali. We look forward to enjoying the celebration. Happy Diwali.
Thank you, Mayor Turner. Our next speaker is the chief executive of the third largest county in the United States, with a population larger than 26 states in the Union. Not only does she run Harris County, in her spare time, she runs a couple of marathons and half marathons, including the Houston Half Marathon tomorrow morning, in her favorite Indian attire in Astros colors, Harris County Judge Lina Hidalgo.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for that introduction. And I want to say I checked the score right before I came on stage, and we're up 1-0. So, and yes, I am wearing Astros orange, and I think it's good luck. So I want to say to Mayor Turner, I know he just spoke, Mayor, it's such a treat to be able to work alongside you and count on you as a friend. And I think our region benefits from how closely we work. To Ambassador Sandhu, thank you for gracing us with your presence, truly. It is an honor to have you in Harris County. Welcome. And we appreciate everything you do to bring our countries together. The relationship between India and the US, India and Houston, Harris County is crucial. So thank you for advancing that. Of course, we all feel safer when Dr. Hotez is here. I'm grateful to the Consul General as well, all of the speakers, Judge George, Congresswoman Lee, Congressman Green. But to the chamber, you guys are lifting up this incredible community. We are lucky in Harris County in the Houston area to count on the 8th largest Indian American population in the United States. This community is a vibrant and integral part of our social and economic fabric. And the good food doesn't hurt either. Look, I know that fundamentally I don't share your exact story. I don't have Indian heritage. But I am an immigrant. And in that way, I think I share the experience of many of you or your parents. My parents and I came here seeking the American dream, and we caught it. And so did you and your families. And that's a beautiful thing. That is what this region does. I believe we are strong because of a culture, because of our work ethic, because of our love of family, and a lot of that is because of so many people who fight so hard to be here, to come here, and to make it here. So thank you for being you, for being exceptional, for making us who we are. Thank you. Now, I know it's been tough over the past almost 2 years. And in a community as diverse as ours, we cannot afford divisiveness. We thrive on unity and love and respect for our diversity. And you have to work to protect that. It doesn't just happen. And so I'm lucky that we have a united front with Mayor Turner and with Judge George. Early on in the pandemic, I knew we had to have one clear message. And I remember us together, we put our logos on the same document. We all came down to our Office of Emergency Management and we explained the situation. And there was a study from Rice University done that if we hadn't early on taken the steps we took, around 4,000 more people would have died in Harris County than did because of the virus. That is unity. That is important. And of course, the chamber has done so much, supporting small businesses, helping out back home, working to get people the resources they needed in the toughest times of this pandemic. But I want you guys to know that Harris County has the back of this community, that our government has been there and will continue to be there. Almost $100 million for small businesses, the smallest of small businesses, the ones that have been hardest hit. Working with Mayor Turner, over $200 million on rental assistance and support for landlords as well. Hundreds of millions of dollars in direct financial assistance. Work on the digital divide, on homelessness, domestic violence, trying to catch up through this pandemic. But we're also working to come back stronger. That means our economic engine, all of you guys, all of the honorees we're gonna celebrate today. That's why we're working in Harris County to give minority and women-owned businesses a fair shot at the almost $5 billion county budget, all the contracts that entails. That means running the government like a business, looking at metrics, performance metrics for the first time, really asking the questions, is this program working? investing historic amounts on public safety, smart and tough on crime policies, making sure that our region is resilient to flooding, tackling the toughest questions that none of us want to ask, but we have to tackle head on if we want to continue being a resilient, diverse, strong, competitive region. So look, I'm going to continue working on that. I am energized by tonight. I am thrilled to see all of you. I'm inspired by your fighting spirit, by everything you've done to keep this community strong. And if the Astros win too, and I know they'll put their best foot forward, that'll just be the icing on the cake. But what a joy it's been to share this evening with each of you. Thank you for what you do for your community, and thank you for welcoming me this evening.
Our next speaker is the first Indian American to ever serve as county judge, the chief executive anywhere in the state of Texas, any time in Texas history. From Kottathod near Kottayam in Kerala, via New York City to Sugar Land, Texas, Fort Bend County Judge K.P. George.
Sanjay is good. He kind of pronounced my little village name almost, so that's good. Good evening, everyone. It is absolutely an honor and privilege to stand in front of you, especially being a South Asian and especially coming from Indian background, standing and talking to you all. The Indo-American Chamber of Commerce of Greater Houston. And I'm telling you, I'm overwhelmed. Especially a person of South Asian descent. As you know, I'm the only person maybe in the state of Texas holding this position. It's absolutely a business evening, so we should be talking about business, how Fort Bend County is doing, especially after pandemic. It is absolutely wanted to be back. Oh my God! I mean, we missed all this stuff. We are back. Thank God for that, and especially after. People like Mayor Turner, Judge Hidalgo, and Counsel General Mr. Mahajan, and Peter Hotes, and all, it is very hard to make or express my point, but I will do my best to do that. And I just wanted to thank Tarush Anand and, of course, Jagdeep Ahluwalia for giving me this opportunity to stand in front of you and say a few words. You heard from the biggest county in state of Texas, the biggest city in state of Texas, and also the third or fourth largest city in United States. But let's talk about our story. Fort Bend County, 52,000 people in the 1970 census. Today we are at 869,000. According to the census, it is 823. But we are, according to the Rice University, we are the most ethnically diverse county in the country, which is with 29% Caucasians, 24% Latinos, 22% Asians, and 20.5% African Americans, which make us a unique county. Today, I'm tired because I'm coming from first time in the history of Fort Bend County, which is 185 years of Fort Bend County's history. We celebrated Diwali at the courthouse. It's okay to clap a little bit loud for that because a lot of people worked so hard, bring 15 Hindu organizations together to accomplish that goal. And so we did Hispanic Heritage Month and Muslim Art Festival, and we are going to be celebrating our Jewish celebrations and of course Christmas. And we wanted to celebrate our diversity. We wanted to set the stage or the standard for our country, how we could live in harmony in a diverse community. That's our goal. And when it comes to why I'm talking all this to a business community, right? And so I tell you, last 20 months was absolutely life-changing. Today, Fort Bend is a better place after COVID, and we are, if you don't know it, we are always on the top managing COVID. 98% of 65 and up in Fort Bend County got at least one shot. And we have 92% is fully vaccinated, 76% of 12 and up and got one shot, and 72% is fully vaccinated. Why I'm saying this to a business community? My goal is to create stability. Stability is that what business community want, and I think we accomplished, and we are in the process of accomplishing that. Before Delta variant, we were very close to getting back to normal. Now we are exceptionally well. One problem in our county today is not having enough inventory home. That means people are moving to our county on a regular basis. Of course, this region, Greater Houston is an amazing place. People are moving, and business community-wise, we are doing so many programs to support and help the business grant and business mentorship program and childcare program, and also just now we started Get Hired, supporting our businesses to give their new employees maybe a sign-in bonus. County is going to pay that, take that tab. And we are going to give them that money so that our businesses can hire more people, make more, Fort Bend more viable, and Fort Bend businesses can thrive. Today, I tell you, comparing last 3 years ago, Fort Bend County, how more minority businesses, more Indo-American businesses in Fort Bend County today. I thought you were going to clap. Joking. But what I'm trying to say is that we are creating an environment where businesses can thrive. And that's my goal. And we are in the process of also supporting, and we just established a business development department, economic development department. And also, if you can, I just wanted to let you know that also we are looking at how we can improve our bidding processes and things of that nature for minority businesses, to help minority businesses get more business from the county and also our other governmental entities. So being said that, I'm here to tell you that we are creating an environment in Fort Bend County for our businesses to thrive, our minority businesses to thrive, and we'll continue to work towards that goal. So I just wanted to say, I know that many of you are from Fort Bend, and I just wanted to say thank you for giving me this opportunity to serve you. And every step of the way, I took that seriously. That's the reason why we are still in the top 4 or 5 when it comes to COVID vaccine administration and things of that nature. Coming back, my goal is to create a business environment where businesses can thrive, can be profitable, can continue to make money and profitable, and also attract more businesses. Why it is important? My goal is to make Fort Bend County a better county, a business-friendly county for not just the businesses today, our children's businesses and our generation's businesses, and they all can come to Fort Bend County and thrive. And one last thing, and some demographics are talking about Fort Bend County is going to be around 1.6 million people by 2040, and that's not that far. So we wanted to be prepared to do that, and so that's my goal. And we are building roads, we are managing drainage, and there's a lot of things to talk about it, but today, thank you for being here. Thank you for this opportunity. Once again, thank you, Indo-American Chamber of Commerce of Greater Houston, for all you do. And from day one, they are always on board with me to help the businesses to understand this, bring more good businesses to Fort Bend County. And I appreciate your help and support in this regards. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Judge George. For those of you that are still looking, the Astros are still up 1-0. We'll continue that trend. All right. 2-0. Oh, thank you. Thank you for correcting me. Before we hand over the World Series trophy to the Astros, we have the Chamber Awards, which is the next part of this evening's program. Please help me welcome back on stage Ambassador Sandhu, Consul General Mahajan, if you could please join us on stage, along with Mayor Turner, Judge K.P. George, Chamber President Tarush Anand, and Executive Director Jagdeep Aluwalia. The first award for this evening is a Lifetime Achievement Award presented to Dr. David Lebron for his contributions in the field of education and in taking Rice University to new heights and shaping its future. Earlier this evening, Dr. Lebron was presented the award by Ambassador Sandhu, President Tarush Anand, and Executive Director Jagdeep Ahluwalia. For the next award for the evening, the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce of Greater Houston's Woman of the Year, we honor Sultana Mangalji. For her contribution to the early development of the Westmont Hospitality Group and her role of fulfilling the group's corporate social responsibility way before that term was fashionable. Congratulations. The Corporate Citizen of the Year is Lionel Bissell for their commitment to advance the circular economy, help address plastic waste in the environment, and enhance overall sustainability. Lionel Bissell has one of the most ambitious goals of the industry to produce and market 2 million metric tons of recycled and renewable-based polymers annually by the year 2030, and to reduce carbon dioxide emissions by 15% per ton of product produced relative to the 2015 level. Accepting the award is Lionel Bissell CEO Bhavesh Bob Patel. This year's special award goes to the Small Business Administration in Houston and their private sector partner, Wallace Bank, one of the largest SBA lenders, for their tremendous efforts in helping businesses survive the pandemic through the PPP Loan Assistance Program and numerous other initiatives. Accepting the award are District Director of the Houston SBA, Tim Jeffcoat, and Rajiv Bhavsar, First Senior Vice President at Wallace Bank. Congratulations to Wallace and to the SBA. Ladies and gentlemen, the pandemic brought out the best in us. Individuals and organizations stepping up to help our neighbors in need. The Community Service Award goes to Seva International for their tireless efforts in the distribution of PPE, food, survival kits, and other vital supplies across the Houston region, in Harris and Fort Bend counties, and also nationally and internationally. Accepting the award are Arun Kankani, President of Seva International USA, the national organization, and Gitesh Desai, President of Seva International's Houston chapter. If we could have all the honorees join us for a group photograph, please. While they're doing that, have the Astros gone up by another run? Maybe? Congratulations to each of our honorees. Thank you all very much. Yield the floor back to Jagdeep Ahluwalia.
I want to thank all these distinguished honorees and our distinguished guests for making tonight's evening such a memorable evening. Join me in thanking Sanjay and Tarush for helping with this wonderful program. But there's a group of people I want to really acknowledge. The caterers, the whole team that put this event together, but more importantly, the wonderful people at the Hilton Americas. Jack and Rebecca, we actually work around their schedules to make sure we have the Hilton available for our galas. They do such a great job. Give them a round of applause. Another person I want to acknowledge is Bhavna Bagga. She's the lady for the last 18 months who's been holding the chamber together, managing all our programs. She's the one who's been communicating with us, with every one of you. So if you've ever received an email or if you've ever received any information from the chamber, you need to thank Bhavna Bagga for the great work she does. And she was supported in today's gala with Soumya Murli, who trained her, Fenil, Shrishti, and a host of other young volunteers who've been here today, including the students from Houston Community College. We're also indebted to Therese, who has been the glue that holds the whole events together. We've been blessed to have her putting the events together, and I think we have a small memento for Therese.
I'm right here. Sorry, I snuck up on your back. I brought my own award. Yeah. It's a Teresa thing, right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, I do want to bring you to the end of the program. I do wish that you will take this magazine with you. It is a record of our last 18 months. It's a record of what we did since our last gala. It's a record of every one of the volunteers, the advisors, the board members, the community partners that help support us. I would draw your attention to page 76, which acknowledges all the team that's been working so hard to make this event together, right from the printer to the caterer. So what is more important from a chamber point of view is business happens at the chamber. We have a wonderful dessert bar at the back of the room. We will be serving dinner after the videos. We are going to be playing the honorary videos. What we did was we have recorded a video for each of our honorary with an acceptance speech, which will be played as soon as I get off the stage, so I'm going to leave as soon as I can. But I want to remind you there'll be a wonderful dessert at the back of the room, which gives you a chance to network. We do not want you to leave this chamber without having come up with some new business connection. We are not my Rotary Club. We are here to do business. So please make sure you thank our distinguished speakers, our chief guest, the ambassador who flew down from Washington for us, Dr. Peter Hotez, an international celebrity, every one of our speakers, the mayor, the county judge, everybody in this room is a superstar. Pat yourselves on the back for making the time to be here with us. Our apologies to the few people who could not make it because of the vaccine mandate. But I want to thank the whole team that put this together, our board, our advisors. But more important, I want to thank every one of you that supports the chamber, either as a sponsor, as a resource partner, as a member, or just a member of the community. Enjoy the rest of the evening, and hopefully the pandemic is behind us, and we will have a wonderful time. But before I get off the stage, join me in thanking my wife, Dami Aluwalia, who bears the long hours and the disturbance I create for her. Give her a round of applause, and give a round of applause to the team at the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. See you at our next event. Our next major event is on November the 9th with Scott McClelland. If you look at the magazine, HEB made an effort to go into an Indian home to understand Indian cuisine. He's got a wonderful, compelling story to tell. We'd love to see you on November the 9th back at the Hilton for our distinguished lecture sponsored by Shell with Scott McClelland. Dinner and the wine has been served. The videos will be playing. I'm out of the way. Thank you very much.